Here's a quick video tutorial on how to use Google MyMaps. So I'm in my browser window already, and I'm going to go to mymaps.google.com. Now, because I'm logged in with a Google account, these are saved maps I have created or found and modified. Now you see here at the top, you have different options in terms of how you can explore this resource. So these happen to be maps that I own. One I made from scratch. One is one that I found under Explore that I made a copy of so I could modify it myself. Talking about the Explorer, you can see besides making your own map, there's tons and tons and tons of maps that are in here. Some that may be more appropriate for things you're doing in class, like Frontier Forts, or ones like Ultimate Sports, which may be more personally inclined. Now, either way, once you've made a copy or created a map on your own from scratch, you can edit that map at any time. You can also create a new map from scratch. Now, whether you're editing or creating a new map, you always start kind of with a blank canvas. You notice here on the side, you have these different layers that you work with, and you have a search bar. So let me go back to the beginning and show you an example I have here. So here's a map that I did my search criteria for, and then added in different layers. So I have two different layers. One is showing athletics. One is looking at the orchard plots for the school. And you can see that they all have unique properties. So in this case, I have these shapes I've added in. So if I click here, I can see I have a photo on the shape of the current orchard site. Over here for the athletics, you can see if I click on it, I have a photo for the upper ball field. And these are all things that I've added. Now the layers can work, can have multiple parts to it, like this one has two. Let's say I'm proposing changes and extending the current plot for the orchard. I could add that in there. If I wanted to only look at the athletic fields, I could unclick that whole layer. You can see now it's disappeared. Or vice versa, if I didn't want to look at the athletic fields, I could just focus on the orchard things. And those are layers I made. So if I click on Add Layer, I could make a whole new layer. Let's say I call this one bus exits. I want to do a layer where I can show where the buses can come in and come out. And then I could add the layers there. So let me show you about how to add layers to these resources. So for example, let's say under athletics I want to add a placemark for this soccer field here. So I'm going to click on athletics. You see I have this blue line here that lets me know I have that layer selected. And I'm going to click on my marker here. So click on my marker and I will put it right about here at midfield. And I will name it upper soccer field. I could add more information here if I wanted. And save it. Now after I save it, you notice I have this additional information or options I can add for my placemark. So one thing is style. So let's say I wanted to give it a slightly different color. Let's say for my athletic fields, I'm going to do, my soccer fields a darker blue, my track and field kind of a yellow, so on and so forth. I could do that. I could also do icons. So in this case, it makes sense to do a soccer icon, and I can add that in. You can see here at any point I could edit to change or add my information. I could add a photo, so something I could upload. I could use my web camera. I could pull resources from my Google Drive. I could add in YouTube videos or do a Google image search right from here. In this case, I'm going to grab a URL. I found this photo online of Coach Tom Evans, so I will paste that URL in and select that and save it. So now I have this photo connected to this point. So let's say I'm going to add some more resources to my orchard. Let's say I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to change the name to agriculture. And not only talk about the orchards, I'm going to talk a little bit about the greenhouse and the garden. So let's say in this case I want to point out where the current garden plot is. And I'm going to do this in this case, by drawing a line. So I click on it and you see you have these different options. You could do walking routes, bus routes, bike routes, I mean. In this case, you can only follow established roads for those, so I'm going to just do a line or a shape. Oops, let me escape that. Just go down here a bit, and I'm going to draw around the current garden plot like that and close it in. Gives it some more information and save that. With this, I could also edit, change the style. In this case, let me give it a different color, like that. So you can see how you can add those layers with a different information to them. Okay, now I mentioned I had added these bus exits. For here, I could do the same thing. I could draw a line. Like that. In this case, I'm going to escape, and I'm going to actually go over here and add measure distance and areas. So one thing I could do is I could find exactly how long it would take for the buses to get from here, just by clicking out my route to, let's say they're going down by the band room. Okay, so I know that's 1,029 feet. Okay, so I could add in something like that. Once I'm done my map, I could share it just like I would anything else. It could be collaborative or view only. And I can always go back to mymaps.google.com and see my shared or saved maps, including the one I just edited, the one I made a copy of, or the one I started to make, this blank slate that I could then go and do a search for. So right here in Orleans, for example, and then from there I could add my layers. So hopefully that sparks some interest in using maps for yourself or with your students.